Welcome to Blood Bowl 18. This is your draft preview and league preview. I'm your commissioner and best team in league history, Cheap Trick. I'm joined today by Al's Destroyers, Cavant's Crusaders, and of course, the big draft board. Today we're going to talk about all the great action you're going to see this year in Blood Bowl. But first, I want to talk briefly about some of the changes coming to Blood Bowl. If I can get the camera posed just right, which probably won't happen. Bear with us. You all know this is more of a podcast than an actual video, but we do want you to be able to see the draft board this year. Some of the league changes we've had over the recent years, we've definitely put more of a focus on IDP players. Uh-oh. Bear with me. There we go. We got it set up now. We've got IDP players. We've dropped defensive teams. But this year we've made some huge changes that I think are going to fly under the radar, and I want to make sure that everybody understands them. So in lieu of sending out an email that's going to write up all this, I may briefly send something, but these are the specifics on how things are going to work going forward. First up, defensive linemen. As we know, we all voted that edge rushers and defensive linemen are both going to be allowed to be started in the DL position. Unfortunately, ESPN made some changes to the format of the leagues this year, something that I did not see coming, and the flex position of D-line / edge rusher was deleted. So instead, what we're going to have are two DP players. They're defensive players. Those have to be defensive linemen or edge rushers. Don't put a linebacker in there and don't put a defensive back in there just because you can. I'm going to be monitoring it. And if you put the wrong position in there on Sunday, we will move that position back down to your bench and you'll be left scrambling. I'm trying to put it out there as early as possible so everybody understands, but that DP position has to have either an edge rusher or a defensive lineman. Now, if you have a linebacker / edge rusher, that's fine. I expect that's what we'll see a lot of with edge rushers. But I want to make sure that everybody's clear on that, and if there are any questions, you need to ask now, and before week 1, we'll really monitor it and try to catch it a little earlier. When we get to week 8 or 9, I can't promise that I won't be checking until the last minute. So if you get caught unawares at that point, I'm just going to refer you back to this video and league rules, and you got to get your head out of your butt. Next change, the draft is going to a 3-round draft. I think we've been pretty clear about that. Everybody knows we're only going to do 3 rounds of drafting. So that means we're going to have, 36 picks this year, and that's it. Hopefully that's going to cut down on the time it takes to draft. I'm hoping the draft will be anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half, and ultimately I hope we get it down to an hour. I also think this is going to make those later draft picks more valuable. I'm not sure this year, as we'll probably discuss in the preview in our mock draft here. But we did want to make the draft quicker. We wanted to make every pick mean more instead of people dropping out after round 2 and going, I don't care anymore. So hopefully this will put some value on those 3rd-round picks. What that does mean, though, is we will not have a supplemental round of picks. For any of you who've stayed around to the end of the draft, you know that usually Mudcats would be picking all the way through for about an hour, replacing out every defensive player on their team just to do a supplemental pick. We're not going to do that this year, next year, or in the future. We are going to switch it up. It's a 36-man draft. Once the draft is over, I will again lock all players in the league. Those players will remain locked until after, at the very earliest, Monday afternoon. I'm going to send an email out that's going to say that actually it's just going to ask everybody what their optimal time is, and we'll find what's best for the league. And I'll unlock it at a given time. So it may be 5 o'clock on Monday afternoon, it may be noon, it may be 8 a.m. Whatever everybody wants or majority wants, that's what we're going to go with. However, in that time, the waiver system will still be up and running. You can email me, and I want to be clear about this. You're going to email me your waiver picks during that time. So if Saturday at 3 o'clock we're done with the draft and Saturday at 4 o'clock some big player gets injured in the NFL preseason and you want his backup, you send me a waiver claim. You will just email me, this is who I want, this is who I'm going to drop. You can do 1, you can do 50 waiver. Well, I guess you can't do 50. You can do 30, whatever you want to do. You can put as many waiver claims, but just like in ESPN, you've got to put them in order, and you got to tell me exactly who you want to drop, because I'm going to follow exactly. Now, what's going to happen is I'm going to take waiver claims, and this date is set in stone. I will take waiver claims until midnight on Sunday, which I always get confused on how that works. So we'll say 12:01 Monday morning. That way you know that you've got all day Sunday to send in your waiver claims. At that point, I will take all the waiver claims and I will put them in order of who had the waiver picks, and that's when I will process all the changes. After that, then we will unlock at the agreed upon time. And then it's a free agent frenzy from then. Everybody's unlocked and everything works in that way.
Now, remember, he's emphasized it's a waiver pick, so it will cost you your waiver rank.
That is true.
You'll drop down to 12, and then that ladder will re-escalate. So you can't just send him a wish list and go, these are the guys I want before you open the board. It is going to cost you at least a waiver pick.
This is your waiver claim. Now, this year, because we are changing this and because everything is different, this year we will be doing a little bit different of a waiver, and I think this is going to make a lot of teams happy. It punishes me, so I think it's the fairest thing we can do. Since the dog's acting crazy, sorry. Since we've switched this to a 3-round draft, going forward, the waiver at the end of the draft will reflect the draft order. So Phoenix Rising will have the number 1 waiver claim. I will have the number 12 waiver claim. I think that's the fairest thing to do since we're cutting the draft off. It used to be the argument, well, if you wanted to keep adding players, you could do it at the draft. That's no longer an option, so the waiver claim is now going to reflect the draft order. So at the end of the draft, Phoenix Rising will have the number 1 waiver claim. There is an interesting possibility that people may want to trade their waiver claims. That's also a possibility, but you have to send that to me quickly. Don't send that to me Sunday night at 10:30 and think I'm going to be able to process it. If you all come up with a deal you want to work, you've got about 18 hours roughly to get this all figured out. You can send it to me. Waiver claims, we'll review them as quick as we can. I don't imagine there'll be much of an issue. If you're trading Aaron Rodgers for the number 12 waiver claim, obviously we're going to have an issue. But no, we're to the point now where I don't feel that people are making these crazy take advantage of trades. We're really only watching a couple teams because of their youth and making sure that they're not selling everything they've got for a ridiculous price. Otherwise, I think everybody else here has been around long enough that if you want to do something, that's pretty much you want to do something. Obviously the Storm, Isaac Storm and Imagine Basilisk, we would have to talk with them and make sure that they understand what they're doing. But if Keith wants to give up, a number 1 pick or player,
for a kicker?
Yeah, for a kicker. We know he loves first-round kickers. Maybe he's got a plan.
Maybe.
So anyways, that's it. Clear from you guys. I know you all knew what was happening, but does that pretty much explain all the situations possible?
Yeah, and if you're overwhelmed, just sit down and think it over. It's not that much. We're doing a 3-round draft pick with a waiver following, and then the board opens up.
Yeah.
That's it in a nutshell. It's for everybody's, I think it's to everybody's advantage, so.
I think it's pretty clear. If you got questions, any of us will be happy to answer them. Just email one of us.
Yeah, we will help out. And again, don't feel like you have to use your waiver claim. You don't. If this is too much and you just want to sit out this year and say, screw it, there's nothing out there I want to do, I can wait another day, do that. This is really, I think, going to be for either somebody who slips in the draft and we all realize it, or an injury situation, because we've seen that on that Saturday. I think even last year that happened where a big guy went down or said he wasn't playing. And we've seen it. I think, Vance, didn't that happen to you with Sam Bradford one year?
Yes, it did.
So it happens. That's when you want to use it. And this is a more fair way, I think, of keeping everything locked up. Because after the 3rd preseason week, most everybody that we're playing, that you'll see in this league actually play Sundays, they're not playing that 4th preseason game. In generally, they're not. So there's that. Email me if you got questions. I'll put probably something briefly together as I explain, the draft in case you miss it and blah, blah, blah. But at this point, we've all been here before. We should all know about what's going on. So I think it's time to start the mock draft. What do you think, guys?
Yep.
Let's do it.
All right, so this year, we're going to try to do what we generally do. We're going to have one team pick. We're going to alternate. We'll talk about if we agree with the pick, how much hair Alf's losing. We'll talk about anything we want to talk about. But we want to stick to one person making a pick. We'll agree or disagree, and that'll be the pick I'll write up on the board. We're going to alternate. We're going to go kind of in an order. We're going to start with Vance will have the first pick, Al will have the second pick, and I'll have the third picks. That will change in the third rotation because Al will not pick for his own team, so he and I will swap. Unfortunately, the board didn't work out perfectly this year.
Happens.
All right, so with the first pick on the board, Phoenix Rising, Cavance Crusaders, you're Phoenix Rising.
I believe this is a team that's in a rebuilding mode here, so I think they need pretty much everything. Therefore, I think they're going best player on the board, Kyle Murray.
Kyler Murray
Kyler Murray.
with the first pick.
Plus, I mean, that's a nice lead into it, Vance, but let's throw out, too. If you don't draft a quarterback, you ain't got one.
Yeah, he has no quarterbacks.
You might want one.
You might want one. And I'll be honest with you all, I'm not 100% sure the situation going on with the former bottom to top Phoenix Rising. Last year, I was a little surprised myself to see that he added a second owner, which is perfectly fine. If you want to have a second, third, fourth, whatever ESPN will allow, I've got no issue with that. I don't see any competitive advantage to that. I don't know if this is a trade between Jeffrey Miller, I believe was his name, to a new owner, or if they're still co-owning the team. So this will be an interesting year because I can't look at what happened in the past as to what they're going to do. Bottom to top, I don't think has ever really emphasized quarterbacks, which is obvious because what's his starting quarterback right now? Teddy Bridgewater.
That's what he's rolling with.
And I don't think he's got another option. I think it's Teddy Bridgewater.
Yep. That's what you got.
Now we went out of our way to make this a league where you could kind of set your own rosters. You know, the super flex is giving people more opportunities and not depending on two QBs.
Right.
But you got to have one QB.
You got to have one.
A QB is going to put 20 points on the board or 15, something. Even a mediocre QB should put something on the board. He's got to take a chance on this. And Kyler Murray, first pick. The first pick in the draft. Going to be the starter for Arizona week 1. And I think he's going to be the starter for Phoenix Rising week 1, too.
Yep.
And if you didn't hear it, the dog agrees with it, too.
That's right.
All right. I don't think there's any question. My only note was no starting QBs on the roster. None. Many exclamation points on the page. If there was any other pick, I would have been greatly surprised. All right, Al, you got the number 2 pick for Isaac Storm coming into his 3rd season.
Yeah, and he's going to draft Harry from New England, wide receiver.
N'Keal Harry?
Yeah. And the reason being, we all know that is his team. And with our league, if you like somebody, you better get them when you can. And I think this is going to be a wide receiver for him for a decade. So why not draft who you want to watch? Why not draft who you're going to have fun with? And really, this guy's pretty stellar for a wide receiver. So I don't think it's a bad pick. I personally would go a totally different route, but we're drafting what we think will happen. That's what I think is going to happen.
Well, the Storm, there's many different ways you can look at this. And I've had this argument before, too. The number 12 pick, if you've only got one draft pick in the round, the number 12 and the number 2 are really not that different. Yes, the pool of players is bigger, but if you rate somebody as a first-round talent,
yes,
they're a first-round talent.
Yes.
If you think, okay, these 2 guys are first-round talents, and you only got one shot at them, you pick the one you want.
That's right.
Now, some people may say, well, I'm going to pick the one that will get most points or the one that the magazines are saying, whatever. But they're still first-round talents. You only get one of the 12. You got to make your pick. If he was drafting at 10, he'd probably still take Harry. If he's drafting at 2, he'll take Harry because he gets the guy he wants. Now, I don't think it's a bad pick because the Storm, they're not one player away.
Right.
He's not in a situation where, okay.
He's building, he gets player he wants to watch.
He's got, and wide receivers are a lot better than running backs in a youth movement.
Right, for longevity.
When you're ready to go, that's when you start throwing everything at the wall with the running backs. But right now, I think you're just taking the player you want, grow your roster, and this could be the guy, Tom Brady's going to play till he's $1 million. Right. So you got a good quarterback. Why not?
Yep.
I think this is a rebuilding team that needs everything, and I agree. With the wide receiver, you got somebody for a decade, and you got the guy who you want. Enjoy it.
Yeah, enjoy your Sundays. Enjoy watching him. And
Yeah.
And let's talk about what happens if N'Keal Harry busts. He's not one player away.
Right,
You know,
right.
there's still chances. So this
Right.
yes, it's not a great situation to be in because you're not. We would all be shocked if Isaac Storm wins the championship this year.
probably be last year I'd play. I'd probably die from a heart attack. But yeah.
We'd be shocked. We're not going to be shocked. He's a little bit away from getting into contention. This is a time to take a chance.
I
Find
agree.
those guys. Don't regret this pick 5 years from now when N'Keal Harry's the number one wide receiver and your team's good.
And you can't get a hold.
Yeah. All right, number 3. That would be me picking for Cavance Crusaders. Cavance Crusaders actually has a solid, if not stellar, lineup in my opinion. Got a lot of players who look good. Doesn't have a lot of elite players. So, and of course it's hard to get elite players. There's no, the elite player's just floating over here. We'll just go pick one up. So he's just going to keep drafting the best available. This year, though, I would say that's probably Josh Jacobs from Oakland. But, again, let's talk about first-round picks. Rank them how you want to rank them. If they're a first-rounder, they're a first-rounder. There's 2 running backs, I think, that are really high up. And one of them happens to play for the Bears. So I'm going to go ahead and pick David Montgomery for Cavance Crusaders, starting running back, I believe, for the Chicago Bears. And we all know Cavant loves the Bears.
Well, Vance didn't get much to say on this because he didn't want to give up his strategy, but I agree with you 100%. And the same speech you gave about number 2 pick. He likes the Bears. This guy is a possible superstar. You've already shored up his backup and Tariq Cohen. I don't see how Vance loses with this pick. I think you handcuff the Cohen situation so that if this guy does get injured or whatever, Cohen's going to be picking up those extra touches. I can't see him taking anybody else in this pick.
I will say, and I think in today's NFL, 2 running backs from one team, if used right, can have value.
Absolutely.
And it's not like he's got a ton of other options where he's saying, well, I got 5 other guys. I'm not going to start both of them. They could both be good because Montgomery can be the one first and second down running back and the goal line running back. And Cohen, we saw what he can do on receiving. So they both will have their places. And he can get points. Even if they're ahead, he'll get points from Montgomery. If they're behind, he'll get points from Cohen. And there's games he'll get points from both.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you throw them 2 together and you're looking at 15 points. That's what I target for a running back. They can both score it each week.
Yeah.
You got one receiving, you got one running, powering it in. You get Montgomery a touchdown. Tariq gets a touchdown from a reception. You picked up 15 points and a half with 2 running backs from the same team. I don't think this is a bad pick. Everybody's going to say, well, where's Jacobs on this list? Jacobs not top 3. But what you have is just what we've been talking about. You got number 2 and 3 picking their team, who they want to watch, who they want to see play, and you can't argue those are number 1 picks.
Yeah,
So,
they're good picks. You could slot. Of course, Murray, by situation, has to be
yes,
number 1.
Yeah.
But you could say, okay, Isaac Storm should take Jacobs. But he doesn't want Jacobs.
Right.
I don't think he wants Jacobs. Right. And then what are we talking? Then Montgomery goes 3rd, and then Harry goes 4th. Oh, we're arguing 2 picks.
Woohoo.
It's the way it worked out. And I'll tell you this, the Bears are better than the Raiders. I mean,
See, I don't want to rain on your all's parade, but I'm just going to tell you, totally way off base. I'd never go with David Montgomery. That's crazy. I would go to Wayne Haskins right here to pick up a 3rd quarterback that can't do crap.
big plans. All right, so
yeah, thanks, Vance.
Of course, Cavant could go a million different ways, but I think this is the most likely. So we're going to go with Vance is going to step back up as Drew's Warriors, a team that, and before you make your pick, how does he keep losing?
I don't know why he is getting the 4th round draft pick. His team is a good team that is not performing. I cannot believe he has the number 4 draft pick with the team he has.
I mean, I know Le'Veon Bell last year didn't play, and that hurt him. But I think he tanked so early because I don't think, and I'll be shocked again, no quarterback has ever done what Mahomes did last year, and no quarterback has ever done it twice. Did you waste his 1 great year
on a tank year?
On a tank year.
But then you throw in luck.
Yeah, luck.
I mean,
Those two
This
should
team
have
is
gotten in the
insane.
playoffs.
Yeah, this team is insane to be playing in the bottom of the barrel. And this year, if you don't make the playoffs, I'm going to say 6 of your games are against 3 of the upcoming teams that are rebuilding. That's 6 wins you are guaranteed.
Kiss my butt.
Hey, maybe you give him a challenge. I'm saying the bottom tier, the bottom 4.
I give you 4 games. I'm not giving you 2.
I'm giving him 6. Sorry, Kavant, love you, but I'm giving him all 6 of the wins. You need 3 more wins to make the playoffs.
I have him as the 3rd highest scoring projection team in the league without a draft pick.
If you start tanking again week 2, you suck. You suck.
Now, I'm going to tell you, this is actually one of the teams that I looked at and thought has possibilities. Because I do think this is a good team. But I also think, I believe that this team is carrying one player that it doesn't need, and it's a quarterback. You've got 3 quarterbacks, and you need a running back.
Yes.
Doesn't he have 4 quarterbacks?
Does he have 4?
Trubisky, Stafford.
Yeah, he's sitting on 4.
He's got 4. I'm sorry, I missed the OP.
And my homie.
Yeah.
Should have took that trade for Hill, huh?
So you got 4 quarterbacks. There's no reason in today's Blood Bowl to have 4 quarterbacks.
There's none.
You need 2, possibly 3 if you want a backup. So trade one of those and get a good running back, because all of your quarterbacks are worth a running back. However, I don't see you trading them because I've tried forever to get quarterbacks from you. So I'm going to go with Josh Jacobs as your pick here to pick up a good running back.
I agree.
And again,
He sat on the board too long. I agree.
this speaks again to, I guess, how set up Drew's Warriors is for the future. He's taken what in many startups, well, maybe not startups, but in many rookie rankings is the number 1 running back and possibly the number 1 player in fantasy from the rookies in Josh Jacobs. He's getting him just as a draft pick, not trading anything, not doing anything. He's gonna. So let's just talk real quick. I won't do his whole lineup. Mahomes, Luck, Bell, Freeman, Jacobs, Aaron Jones, Beckham, Julian Edelman. These are the top guys he's starting. Now it gets a little worse from there. Watkins, Shepard, but they're not terrible.
It's not a number 4 in the league for a draft pick. The team is too good to keep performing at this level.
He's got good defensive players. At this point, barring catastrophic, everybody goes down in week 1. This should be a team that's contending for the championship.
Yes.
And he's won a championship before, but I think at some point, and maybe it was just bad luck last year. I don't know. I haven't went back and looked at all of it. He probably had a reason and just slipped through. I know Bell being out hurt, and I believe Freeman got injured. So there was probably some bad luck involved. But this is a team that I think can compete week in and week out.
And better be.
I can't see them tanking anymore because, I mean, how much better can you get? He's going to drop somebody that more than likely somebody else is going to pick up quick. All right, moving on.
Now we've browbeat poor Drew's Warriors.
I don't think I've ever complimented and beat up somebody as much in the same.
You're good. You suck.
Fantastic team.
You suck.
So I do expect to see him in the maybe not the championship, but in the playoffs. And if he's not in the playoffs, either again catastrophic injuries or it was just a great battle down the stretch.
Yeah.
All right, number 5 pick, the Basilisk, entering his 2nd year, which means all his restrictions are off. Means he can actually start trading this year. Got a little bit of a mixed roster with some older and younger guys, so I would expect him to be an active player this year, whether in the draft or in the early part of the season, just trying to move on from some of the older guys. I don't think that's revealing his strategy too much. He and I've talked about it. He's actually he's still young, but he's actually very intelligent on strategies. He doesn't understand all the players, but I was talking to him last year, and it was like week 5, and I told him, I was explaining to him where he was at, and he said, so I'd just be better off losing the rest of the year, huh? I didn't tell him about tanking. He just told me he'd be better off, and luckily I was able to convince him he wanted to have a better rookie record than Isaac Storm, though they ended up having the same record, so he was happy with that. But he also looked at some of his guys and said, well, this guy's too old, this guy's too old, I like this guy. So I think he understands the wheeling and dealing. It'll be learning the players and learning all that stuff that's going to be a challenge for him. But having said that, Alf, you were going to be on the clock for this pick.
Yeah, and exactly what you said is what I think he has to run with. So there's no right or wrong answer, but I think he throws a dart at a quarterback just to try and shore that up. And I'm going with, reluctantly, I'm going to go with Haskins. I personally don't think after Murray there's a quarterback worth your time to draft, but he has to throw some darts if he wants to build a young team. And you start that by shoring up the quarterback. And I haven't looked at his roster in great detail, but I don't think he has anybody that jumped out at me.
Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, anybody named Josh?
I think Haskins is a great pick for this one, actually, because I think Haskins has a pretty good chance of, at some point this year, becoming the starting QB for Washington. He doesn't have much in front of him, so I actually have Haskins as, as my second-rated quarterback out of the rookies. I think it's a good pick.
Yeah.
Well, without giving too much away, this is where I think our draft boards get a little different because I looked at it and I've never been a big Washington Redskins fan. So as a Philadelphia Eagles fan, I probably am leaning away from it, but I don't have the pick. I'll just advise on this one. There's not a whole lot else out there. Whatever he takes is going to be a flyer. There is one player out there I think could be a potential pickup, but we'll see. So Haskins, that was the strategy last year, and I think that's always the strategy till you get quarterbacks, is keep throwing darts until you find a couple to start.
And he could go a different way. He does have Rosen. If you want to trust Miami as your
and this is a rebuilding team, so if he went wide receiver, running back,
back to pick 2 and 3.
It really doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
He needs somebody. I wouldn't go running back because he's rebuilding, but throw a dart, take somebody you like, enjoy watching him while you go to puberty.
Yeah, how often do we get to talk about puberty at a fantasy football draft? All right.
Good old puberty. All right.
What kicker are we taking?
No kickers yet.
Oh, you're getting ready to.
But Keith is on the board.
That's right.
Tight end.
No kicker. Yeah, maybe there are some tight ends.
There are some tight
Unfortunately,
ends.
that's scary. There are, Keith. There are tight ends available.
Well, a player that I did not anticipate being on the board because I didn't know he wasn't on a roster until about, 3 weeks ago when I did all this, is available for Keith, and I think he's the last impact player on the board for the season. And I think Keith is going to pick up impact players, and he's not sold on the rookies. Keith is the Killers, of course, is in an interesting position because he's a very, very good mix of old and young. He's got Big Ben, who's probably towards the end of his road. Jameis Winston, who's about to hit probably in his prime, somewhere in there. And he's got a lot of young skill players. So he could go anywhere. Isaac Storm and the Basilisk are not going to pick older players.
Right.
Keith may, and I believe, unless ESPN has lied to me, that Damian Williams of the Kansas City Chiefs, the starting running back, is available. And I believe at this point, Damian Williams, and it's going to be really hard to read because I can't write well to begin with, much less down here, is the pick.
And I'm going to tell you, I'm a running back guy. With our league, there's so many different aspects you got to look at. Damian Williams is a sure bet, in my opinion. I think that picking him up, granted, you're losing a couple of years of picking up a Sanders or somebody like that, or even the Josh Jacobs, but I was hoping Williams would fall to me.
No way.
I don't think he will, because I think everybody in our league is intelligent and they look at the stats. My hope was nobody wanted him versus a rookie. So, Keith, if you pick him up here, I think you're stealing. I think he could have went 3 picks higher, in my opinion.
I think this is a great pick for Keith because I think Keith is actually able to compete in the league.
Yes.
So picking up a player of this age doesn't hurt him like it would Basilisk or Storm or Phoenix.
Yes.
This is a great pick for Keith.
I don't think that – I'm looking at the board, Rising, Storm, like you said, Basilisk. They're probably not going to pick this Damian Williams, like he's – This Damian Williams.
Yeah, there's 5 Damian Williams. This one's the one he gets.
But, and Kavon's Crusaders could do it, but I think he'll go with the Bears because I think he'll go with the guy.
That's our leads, though.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying is, after Kyle Murray, Williams could go number 2 in my opinion.
Yeah.
He won't in our league. But
Drew's Warriors could.
Drew's Warriors could. Drew could throw him out and say, I'll take him over the rookie. But I don't see Drew doing that.
Yeah,
I don't think that's Drew's style. So our league is allowing Damian to fall so far down.
Yeah.
And I think he reaps the benefits of this. And I think he can pick up a wide receiver, a tight end, or a kicker in the 12th pick he picked up from me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're right. He's going to flop right back around if you do want a tight end, and we all know you do. Boy, that just didn't come out right.
Well, we all do.
Yeah, he'll be there at pick 12.
So that's it. Pause your draft board, whatever, so you can look at this.
Take a snapshot.
Take a snapshot because we're going to flip the page over. And there may be a second where I have to readjust everything. Good old readjusting on a tight end.
Oh, looky there.
Look at that. The KK Steel Ships.
Boom!
Perfect.
And KK again at the bottom of the board.
That's right.
All right. And we're back with pick number 7. The Knights of Excalibur, who now we get into some interesting talk because none of it up to this point has been interesting.
Yeah. I mean, we've just been rambling.
Yeah. Knights of Excalibur was, I think, one game. It might have technically been 2, but if he beats me, and trust me, I was mad. I talked to him afterwards. I was pretty mad watching that game until I won. It was down to the wire. Amari Cooper was burning me every time I turned around. He was legitimately beating me away from making the playoffs. And I'm sure he can look at some other wins and losses that he could have got and made the playoffs. So now we're really into, Keith wasn't within real striking distance of the playoffs, but Knights of Excalibur sure was. So I'm expecting, if he can get the right pick, that he's really going to make a move up this year. Vance, you're on the clock.
Now, this was one of the easiest picks that I found. Just because he needs one area, and I think that will give him the edge to get into the playoffs. He needs a running back. I actually thought Damian Williams would fall to him here, so that's who I had, but it didn't work. So I'm thinking he goes with the next best one, which would be Miles Sanders.
You don't think he's going to go with Giovanni Bernard and Mike Davis as his running back 2 and 3 this year?
I really debated that for a while. About 2 seconds.
I've heard rumor that Bernard may be getting traded. So I know they really like, what's his name,
Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon.
I like him too.
So yeah, you like him too. But I heard, and I haven't got anything really, I haven't followed up on it, but I heard he may be up for trade.
Got some calls in.
Yeah, I got some calls to the NFL. And, we're
Peter
talking.
King hasn't let you know
Yeah,
yet?
no, I'm waiting for that direct call back. I should have known a week. No, but I did hear on some of the podcasts and stuff that they may look to move him, which would make sense for Cincinnati and would really help out Knights Excalibur if he could get that guy performing where he needs to be.
Yep.
I will say I think this is a good pick on our board. I don't think there's anything else you can argue. He needs running backs.
Yeah.
But let's back up just a second. Let's say the draft plays out just a little bit differently and Haskins isn't picked up early and it goes running back, wide receivers all the way through. Knights of Excalibur may be screwed here. If Haskins is the best available player, not that Haskins is terrible, but that doesn't fit him.
Nope.
So my question is, one, does Knights of Excalibur trade this pick at that point?
If you can't get what you want, absolutely.
Or does Knights of Excalibur get a proactive approach, and does he start grouping things together and make a move up? Even just a couple picks. Basilisk, Drew's Warrior. I don't know if Drew's Warriors. Even Basilisk or Killers. Maybe even Isaac Storm. Because, again, I think N'Keal Harry would be available here if it wasn't for Isaac Storm.
So you throw him a little sweetener here, and you get what you want, and pick up Jacobs, or then you just mess the whole daggone board up.
And what would it cost? I mean, I'm looking at the value. If Knights of Excalibur goes to 2, does it cost a first-round pick next year? Which, for a guy who's going to make the playoffs, isn't that bad?
Yeah.
It might be worth throwing out a shot at, okay, you trade down 5, probably still get the guy you want. I get a running back, and I'll give you my first-round pick next year. So now you're getting 3 first-rounders in the next 2 years.
Right.
I could see the Knights being very proactive, moving up too.
And I think this is really Knights Excalibur. He's been flirting with it for a year, 2 years now. It's time to grow up in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the moves that you look at and go, what am I willing to sacrifice to get that title? And then after that, what do you do to maintain it? But right now, he's at the point, you're absolutely right. How do I get down my first title and get that shirt?
Because he's got everything. He's got he's got 4 great wide receivers. He's got a great quarterback. Flacco is acceptable as the super flex.
And we'll be there for a while for super flex. Yeah. You got the rest of this season to figure out a super flex.
Yeah. You got Saquon Barkley. If you paired him with a Josh Jacobs, or let's be crazy, Damian Williams. Let's go whoever. You're pairing up. Now Miles Sanders, you're in a crowded backfield. You got Jordan Howard, you've got they got a couple other guys, and I can't think of them right.
So your touches are gonna be down.
Yeah. Smallwood. They got one other guy, Josh something. He's on replace Josh Adams.
Smallwood.
Yeah, Drake. Smallwood. Yeah.
Drake, it's time to grow up, bud.
Yeah, get rid of the Smallwood.
Yep. Get rid of your Smallwood and move up to the big boys league.
If you're going to make it, this is the year to make that big move. And I'm just telling you, I see Isaac Storm. I don't know if a first and first are enough, but I don't think it's that far off. And then you just start, well, what else? Yeah. Or is it enough? Whatever.
It could be because I still think you sweeten that pot and tell him more than likely Harry's still going to be available.
Yeah.
At 7.
If I knew I could
line, number 3 may take him. We don't know, but ideally, I think he would. Vance knows. But ideally, he would still be available when you pick up another number 1 or you trade something. I don't know, but I agree with you. Sanders is not sexy.
Yeah.
Trading up for a Josh Jacobs with, like you said, the team and the backs that I got, that's sexy. That's what you're looking for.
That's a not drafting number 7. That's 9 through 12 next year.
Yes.
That's the I've hit the sweet spot, and I've always said it. Just make the playoffs. You never know what'll happen.
That's right.
And I've seen it where the best team ends up drafting lower because they get knocked out on a bad week. But I've also seen that 4th place playoff team win the whole thing and beat, because they got 2 good weeks. Just make the playoffs, and I think that's the kind of move that could make the playoffs.
Yeah, because I'll be honest with you. If you've been in the league a while, 7 and 8 draft picks suck.
Yeah.
Because you can't say, well, I made the playoffs last year, and you can't say, I got a good draft pick. You got nothing. You got the worst of the worst, so you got to make the best out of what you got, and that's what Drake's going to have to do with this pick if he wants to move up.
Miles Sanders could be a superstar in the league, but any rookie could be. We don't know. But more than likely, Miles Sanders is a 7-8 pick again.
Yeah.
He's that kind of guy who's going to make you a little better, but not great.
You want that? You move up and you get Josh Jacobs or Damian Williams and you shore up that wide receiver, and we're all sitting here going, he's dangerous.
Yeah. And then we're yelling at you next year, just like Drew's Warriors.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely right.
All right.
But time to grow up.
Number 8. Get rid of your Smallwood. Number 8 is Alf's Destroyers. Alf, you should be on the clock, but I'm going to step in this time.
Yep.
And this is this sucks. I mean, this just sucks. There's nothing, and I don't want to disparage the draft because every time I do, that's the year that we get a lot of great players come out. But this draft sucks now. I don't really know who he would take. There are a lot of options. Alf could definitely use a quarterback, but at this point, it's Daniel Jones. I mean, that's a backup all season because I really don't think after the fiasco last year that New York Giants will bench Eeyore. I think Eeyore Manning, is going to start and play all season.
Again.
I don't, there's some other options, but I don't see anybody out there that's a number 8 pick. And honestly, he might get Daniel Jones in the 2nd round. I mean, there's nothing really out there that makes me go, ooh, that's good. So I'm looking at anything else. There's no running backs. I mean, there's a couple that he can take a flyer on, but there's not enough to really, there's just nothing there. So I'm going to go with, and this might be crazy, but I think this could be, I could give Alf a completely different lineup than anybody else. I'm going to say that he's going to draft and start in a super flex position, Hunter Henry of the San Diego Chargers, the tight end. It's not a sexy pick. He could go defense. There's a lot of options, but I think actually his defense is really good. And Hunter Henry fills a hole in his roster and in his soul to where he can have somebody beside Gillespie, whatever his Mr. Gasecki, he can get him out of his starting lineup. I get it. Hunter Henry is a bizarre super flex, but he's a tight end that has had a good season, that doesn't have Antonio Gates in front of him and gets an extra 0.5 for receptions. That's all I can say.
I got to say, I like this pick. I like this pick better than the one that I picked for him. So I didn't even think of Hunter Henry. I think this is a great pick. I can see it happening. Although my only thing with Alf is he's got really good wide receivers, needs a quarterback. There are a few teams out there that have some extra quarterbacks. You might want to work a deal and trade one of those.
Yeah, none of these people like trading with me. I'm like the bad guy of trading, which is fine. I don't
In
care.
fairness, there isn't a lot of trading in our league anymore.
Yeah, but people don't send you emails that are like, you suck, grow hair.
Sorry.
That's true.
That
When
was
you have
just-
hair like mine, nobody has to tell me I have to grow it.
That was just this morning when I was telling you what I wanted for breakfast. Hey, you suck. Grow hair. Bring us over some Egg McMuffins.
We didn't get Egg McMuffins.
We got no Egg McMuffins and no hair. All right. So we won't put Alf on the clock and ask him about this pick because there's really no need to, you know. I think it could go a number of ways, but at this point I think the sexy in the draft has left.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're going to look at number 9, replacements, and that Alf will step up, and you're going to take control of this one.
I'm telling you, I agree with everything you said before. There is nothing really sexy left here. There's this draft really drops out. So I'm not even going to build it up. I'm going with Campbell, the Indiana wide receiver. He doesn't need anything. Replacements as a contender. I don't know.
See, I think replacements is one of the 2 best teams in the league. And when I looked at it, his starters are great. All he needs is some bench. So he can go anything he wants right here. I don't think this is a bad pick.
I don't disagree. I wrote on my sheet, replacements needs backup running back a little more than he needs backup wide receiver. So I went Darrell Henderson from St. Louis.
You're digging deep there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a terrible one either, but you're digging deep. He's actually on my list, but he's so low on my list.
Phoenix Rising was on my top of my sheet.
It would not surprise me to see replacements pick up a defensive player here.
He could pick up anybody.
It would.
I mean, seriously, he's got a good enough team that whoever he picks up is probably riding the bench anyway,
Right.
unless they break out. So
Right.
you're really throwing darts at who's going to be the breakout player
Right.
that you can get at the number 9 pick.
In
Good
replacements,
job, replacements.
I've got him as the second highest projected scoring team, and you can go to ESPN and pull that. He's projected to score the second most points in the season. But what's interesting to me about him is I look at most everybody's bench, and there's usually a few crap spots. He's got guys, I mean, Lamar Jackson, projected for 220 points on the season.
Yeah.
DJ Moore, Mike Williams, Allen Robinson, these guys are all projected 120, 140 points. These guys are projected to score more than the guys who are available to pick up. So he's going to drop
Right.
some. Josh Adams, of course, is probably the 4th running back in Philly, so that's who he's going to drop, I guess. I would assume. Regardless, replacements is going to probably drop one player and pick up somebody who's not even going to be the best on his bench.
Yeah.
He's going to be the worst guy on his bench. So take a shot if he's got a player that he's in love with. And that's what gets hard, and that's what I love about our league, too, is as the people are here longer, you know, of course, I know he loves Carolina, but there's no Panther that I know
Right.
of. You don't know what people are looking at as they get long. You know, his team is built, so just take what he wants.
Especially in this situation, because one thing we never really talk about is you do have to drop somebody to draft this person.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I mean, it could get to the point where he looks at this number 9 pick and goes, I'll trade it for next year. I mean, he can't lose here. He can't lose.
Isn't that
And
every
replacements-
spot on our bench right now?
Huh?
That's your, that is for your IR.
There's an
Spot.
IR spot.
I thought there was an empty spot, but I could be wrong.
No, there should be one spot available on everybody's roster,
For
but
an
it's an IR.
Maybe there's just an empty spot on my roster.
But I think this is mad props to replacement. You've been in the league a long time, and you put your lumps in, and congratulations, man.
I was worried he was going to beat me last year in the championship.
Ah.
And there's no question. I thought he legitimate, and I'm sure he was watching it like, yep, I did it, until the very last game or the end of the Steelers-Saints game. But regardless, this is probably the best team to have never won a championship. And he's right on the he's on the doorstep. And it's not even something where I say it's this year or bust. I will say win it when you can, because you don't know when that window closes, and it closes hard. And we're going to talk about that in about 2 picks, I think.
Yeah.
All right, number 10 will be the Trots, who I think has officially changed his name to Hamburger Trots. Or just Hamburger Trots.
Hamburger Trot. Yep.
I take that as a win for me.
That is a win.
All right, Vance, you're going to step up and draft for your rival. And no, you actually have to do a good job on this pick. You can't just throw out crap.
Actually, I know who he's going to take.
Oh.
I don't like who he's going to take, but I know who he's going to take at this pick.
Oh,
Yep.
like inside knowledge or just your inside knowledge?
It's just my answer.
Okay. Like he didn't, in confidence, tell you we're going to blow that.
No,
Okay,
I'm not going to blow his whole strategy. But if you know anything about him, you know who he's going to take. Jonathan knows who he's going to take. Go ahead and write it up there.
I forget what his first name is.
Josh.
Thank you.
Is he a Kentucky boy?
Josh Allen from the University of Kentucky.
Yeah.
Who is actually
wouldn't blink
a
for a
good
second.
player.
I would not be surprised to see replacements take him. Honestly.
I could see that too. I mean, Josh Allen is actually a good player.
Yeah.
And he should be on somebody's bench, on somebody's roster, and I believe that it will be Hamburger Trots because it will fall to him probably this way. And I don't blame him. If I could get Josh Allen in the second round, I'm going to take him, so you better take him now.
I don't disagree.
I'm going to ask you, Al, because you've got the app running. What's Allen classified as? Is he a linebacker? Is he an edge rusher?
He's a defensive end.
Is he if he's a defensive end? Certainly, he definitely has a lot of value rushing the quarterback. Yeah, this makes a lot of sense just from past history. I mean, the guy drafted Randall Cobb in the first round. He's drafted a lot of other UK players.
Edge rusher, defensive end for a league.
Yeah, so this is not a bad pick. He made the playoffs for the first time last year, so he clearly has the roster in place. I don't disagree with it. I think there's a sound reasoning behind it. The only thing I looked at was...
I will say, the only thing that really surprised me, he's only projected 85 points by ESPN.
Yeah,
that's one of the only things I looked at on that. I actually think he'd be better off going with a defensive back, but
Yeah.
I know he'll take the player he
Yeah.
wants, and I don't blame him.
No, I don't think he's a bad pick.
Well, but
I think Josh Allen will do better than 85 pick.
and that's something to think about too on ESPN. Sacks. They don't project a lot of sacks.
Right.
If this guy comes in and does what he did at UK and sacks the quarterback and gets 12 to 15 sacks, that's a lot more than 85 points.
Well, he gets 12 to 15 sacks. You got the steal of the draft
Yeah.
in that position.
And that's not impossible though, because
not impossible.
Bosa did it in
Yeah.
8 games.
It's not impossible, but if you can do that, you got it. I mean, you're talking right there. You jumped him up 130, 140 points for the year. That's a steal for a DL.
I mean, he was the defensive player of the year in college football. He's fast. He's a little undersized, which is where I think he'll get a lot of points in sacks.
Will that be the highest draft for a defensive player?
That probably is. It's
That
probably
would be.
right about that area. We've never had somebody go in the first half, so I think that would be right about right. In my pick, I had him taking a wide receiver, but it wasn't something I was in love with, so this makes as much sense as that. All right, we're going to go to Snowflake Storm, Al.
Metcalf, Seattle, wide receiver. I don't know. I don't know what she needs. I don't know. I don't understand how she picks. Her loyalty is baffling to me, to her players. And she is just a monster. So I really think this guy, of all the wide receivers, he has the potential of being a breakout wide receiver. That's it. There's
I
no
don't think there's an easy in there.
I don't have anything else. Maybe she picks up Boza. Maybe she picks up White. But I'm going Metcalf.
Maybe there was an E, maybe there's not. All right, I'm going to break some news here, and this is even bigger breaking news than what you broke on Trots. This is official as I understand it today, and I'm letting everybody know so everybody in the league is on the same page. From talking to Snowflake, this year will not be her last season, but she has told me that in season 20, she feels like that'll probably be the time she wants to step aside because our other son will then be about the same age to get a team. She says she enjoys the league, but, it is a lot of work. So she wanted to stay through season 20. So I think anything she does from here, you're going to be looking at somebody who's trying to win as they go out. Another reason that she picked season 20 is something that we've talked about, and this is going to be the first time I think we're going to talk about it here in an official league capacity, so everybody in the league can start to understand what's coming. We've talked about, after year 20, making some significant changes to the structure of the league. And what that means, I think we've talked about, is in some way putting contracts on players. In some way having some system in place to where when you draft somebody, yes, you can retain them for their career, but it will cost you something. In the NFL, you can't put a team together like I have with nothing but superstar number one wide receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, and everything, and pay them. You just cannot physically do it. It's impossible. You got to pick and choose who you're going to want to do. So we've talked about in some way putting a system together where whether it's salary cap, whether it's putting round picks on keepers, whatever it may be. So that's something that is going to come a discussion in the future, and we're just letting everybody know we think 20 years is probably a good time to do it after 20. So we'll get through Blood Bowl 20 and start doing that. And honestly, I think when we get into that will be the time where some people may want to step aside and say, we're not really into putting this much work into it. Maybe they don't. Maybe everybody stays on. I don't think it'll be as confusing as it sounds like now, because everything we've ever done, we start out with, man, that sounds weird. And I don't think anybody has ever had anything in this league they don't understand. We boil it down and we figure out what best way to do it. We're not talking about screwing everybody out of all their players, but we are talking about I shouldn't have a team that's nothing but ones guaranteed and locked in for 30 years. There has to be some balance, because I look at a Phoenix Rising, there's a reason he's been in the bottom for 8, 10, 12 years. Because these players are locked up and they can't go anywhere. There has to be an availability for everybody to get something, or else the league is always... And I'm proud of the fact that I've got to where I am and other teams have moved up, and there's been some great stories. But I do think that doing this will balance out the league a little bit. And we're not punishing people, because you're still going to be able to keep the players you want. There's still going to be mechanisms in place to let you have the guy you want. If you have a guy that you say, if you're Knights of Excalibur and you have Saquon Barkley, there will be a way for you to keep him your entire career, his entire career. He will not disappear from your team. But in keeping him, you may have to give up that running back too that you love. You'll just have to make a tough decision at some point. There'll be years where you're locked in and you're looking at your roster going, I've got 2 more years with all these guys. No issues. But this is something that could come down the pike. And, just talking through it with some different people. I know Storm. Snowflake, she loves the league. She's loved it. But I think she's to the point where she would bow out. And knowing that our team would go to our other son, she's happy with that. So this is something, and again, breaking a little league news here, but this gives everybody a good plan of what's coming. So year 20, this should probably be her last year. I say that because now I look at it and I go, I don't know. I think she's going to take the most impactful player now. I think she's going to just try to get to a championship. She's not going to rebuild at this point. So if there's a running back, she may go with a running back. But she needs wide receivers. She needs tight ends. That team died quick.
And on this is another one of those teams that I just have a little note here. She has 4 quarterbacks. She has 5 quarterbacks. I must have missed her OP2. Her super
Goff,
flex.
Breeze, Rivers, Cousins, Garoppolo.
Yeah, 5 quarterbacks. Trade one to get you a running back.
She's never been a big trader, but if somebody was to throw a running back or a wide receiver of some value for the length of her stay, I think that you could probably make that trade.
In our league, there is absolutely no reason to have 4 or 5 quarterbacks. There's no benefit to having
other than to aggravate other teams.
But you do aggravate them, but now you're hurting yourself because you don't have the depth to pick up that running back.
And I think she'll see that this year. I think she's going to have to make some decisions on her bench and go, especially doing her plan. She wants to build up what she can, knowing it's going to get tore down anyway, but to hope to leave, if it's going in the hierarchy down to the next child, I'm assuming we'll still do some of them going to the draft. So she's going to want to set that up to where she can
have a team in place.
Make it tougher on us to go, well, you're going to be the worst team in the league because we're taking your best quarterback, best running back. She'll maybe spread some of that out knowing she's got a retirement plan coming up.
Yeah.
I agree with you, though. 5 quarterbacks, ridiculous. But I do understand the frustration because I'm in that. I
understand.
It sucks you got 5 and I got 1.
I understand that frustration, but
she's
it doesn't
done it for
help
years.
her anymore.
I can honestly say that it hasn't hurt her either.
Well,
Where she's at, you're in the playoffs every year. So
okay.
I do agree with you.
I will say that no, from talking to her, she has the 5 for a reason. She has her 2. She's never going to get rid of Breeze. So you might as well just forget that. Breeze is hers until the day he retires. Rivers, she looks at Breeze and Rivers as her quarterbacks of today, and she looks at Garoppolo and Goff as her quarterbacks of tomorrow. So, yeah, Cousins is kind of that weird in-between.
Right.
That might be the one, but again, in her head, the 5 makes sense. She knows why she has them. She just keeps getting shocked that... And I think everybody in the NFL from the 1970s to maybe 2010 are surprised that some of these guys are playing. Like Drew Brees should have retired 5 years ago. And he's good. I'm not saying by play he shouldn't be there. I'm just saying nobody expected Tom Brady to be playing this late. The quarterbacks are, because they're so protected, are playing later and later. So you make a succession plan of, okay, I've got my next level, but your guys that have won you a championship and you've depended on for so long are still there, and you don't want to get rid of them. Yeah. So it's an interesting thing, but I think that's an NFL thing too, where, I mean, how many guys have the Patriots drafted that they thought was going to be the next Tom Brady, and Brady says, I'm playing until I'm 70.
Yeah.
And they can't get rid of him. All right, so we're going to finish it up with Keith again, who I had taken DK Metcalf, but apparently he's off the board. There are a lot of choices here, and I believe in the last round we took Damian Williams for him.
The running back.
The running back. So I'm going to go with a wide receiver here. These really weren't exactly on my picks because I thought they would be gone by now. Or I thought other people would be gone, and some guys I thought would be gone are still left, if that makes any sense. I'm going to go... Boy, I am torn here. This could be tough. I'm going to look at his roster one more time. I'm going to make the best pick I can for him. I guess, looking at everything, I'm going to go with A.J. Brown from the Tennessee Titans. Wide receiver. Because I don't know anything better to take. And it could have been Henderson. It could have been Devin Singletary from the Buffalo Bills.
I had Isabella from Arizona as the last wide receiver. You're right. They're all in the same, but Tennessee.
I didn't have anything exciting here.
Tennessee just has no.
If he takes A.J. Brown, I hope A.J. Brown is the #1 receiver in the NFL. I have Marcus Mariota.
Oh.
Well, how does that help you, though?
Because if Marcus Mariota throws all the touchdowns to him, then...
But it'll be Mariota's backup because Mariota will be injured after like the first 3 plays.
And then I'll get to step in my guy to take those points.
Or Snowflake's 6th quarterback.
Yeah. With her waiver claim, as everybody goes crazy.
You got plenty of attention with your running back pick, Keith, so take whoever you take at 12. I really had him. I thought he would go with Kentucky linebacker White. Is that right?
Kentucky has a
Devin White wasn't the Kentucky boy. He played.
I had White. Who was White?
Devin White.
Devin White.
I think he played somewhere in Florida, but I might be wrong. He's the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, the
guy.
Pittsburgh Steelers. That's what.
Had a good game last night. He was all over the field.
And I have to admit, I'm surprised there's no Smelly on there. Nobody's going to waste a draft pick for.
It's not the second round.
Oh.
Trot still has more picks.
Okay.
Plus, I think Snell's so far down on the draft.
Yeah, he'll get there. Trots will get to him.
He's what, running back 4 right now?
I think so, something like that.
Yeah, Trots will get him.
That for Trots, but I was like, no, he'll take Josh Allen.
I remember when he was playing this year, Drake's like, I'm taking him no matter what next year. And now Drake's like, he's not even in like the top 200 players. Like,
no, that's not.
Careful how you make those promises when you see them in college. That doesn't translate to NFL success in any way.
Well, that's it for the mock draft. I think we've put up an interesting just looking at these 6 picks is just sad. I think this.
But you know, the first 6 picks I picked pretty well.
Well, the first 6 picks were good. I looked at them and was like, I'd be proud of that draft.
The last 6 picks, there are
Both
2 people on there that was on my list.
There's a couple.
I agree.
2 were not on my list at all. And let's see. Other than Alf, who I picked, nobody else is in my mock draft in the right spots.
Yeah.
Everybody else.
None of those are in. Well, Josh Allen.
So that the one I picked for Alf, and even the other pick I did for Killers, is not the same pick I would have picked
Right.
because of the way it played out. But I do think it'll be interesting. I think the year that I thought everybody sucked, and I thought the draft was a waste of time, was the year that Chris Johnson and Matt Forte went. And there were draft picks everywhere. And I think that might have even been the year Odell Beckham was in, or it might have been the next one. Regardless, there's a year that I thought everybody sucked, and they came out and they're amazing. So these 6 could be amazing.
Could be the names 5 years from now. We're all going, hey,
Should have picked them.
should have got Metcalf.
Yeah. What was I
Never
thinking? A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
Once I got rid of Mariota, I mean, the guy was amazing.
Fixed it. Fixed it.
So that's our mock draft here. Always appreciate comments. We'll post this on YouTube, and then I'll put the link on the main page. That's probably where you're viewing it right now. And before we wrap up, we always like to talk about the upcoming season a little bit. So we'll just do kind of rapid fire here. Kavan, I'll start with you. Who's drafting first next year? Barring trades, we'll bar a trade, but who's gonna have the worst year?
I'm going to say that will probably be. I don't want to say Basilisk because I think he's actually going to do fairly decently.
This is not rapid fire.
It might be Storm. I think Isaac Storm.
Alf, who's going to win the championship this year?
I go with an off pick. Knights Excalibur.
All right. KC, who's the breakout player this year from this draft?
From this draft?
From this draft. All right. We'll flip it back to the good players.
Yeah, let's get to the good players if you're going to ask that. There you go.
Alf, same question. Breakout player.
Damian Williams.
Vance, who's winning the championship?
Cheap trick.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, he sucks.
I hate him.
Wish he'd just
Literally.
Wish he'd just go ball.
Literally. I hate him. Can't stand him. I
Alf.
hate being in his house. I hate his children. I hate his wife.
Because they've all beaten him.
In some form or another.
Only his youngest son is acceptable because he hasn't beat me yet.
Alf, one league change you'd like to see happen in the next year?
I like what's coming up with the contracts. I think that's going to put a whole new level of depth to our. It may be more work, maybe a little harder, but I think if you stuck with this league for 20 years, you like football, so you want a challenge.
KC, any change you want to see come up?
Contracts take out the only thing that I would have wanted to change. And so for that, I'm not even going to confuse the waters and say what I wanted to change. I think the contracts are going to make a big difference. And
Again.
I'm willing to wait 2 years for a big difference because I enjoy the league.
Again, folks, 18 is this season. 19 and 20 will be no changes.
3 years, and I enjoy the league still.
But I just want to clarify that everybody knows any change will be in league year 21. Because I think we've got some special things coming down the pike after 20 years. I think that's going to be a celebration year, and hopefully we're all still alive and kicking, to enjoy it. But I really think that's going to be a good year. So look for some special things to happen around then.
So are we going to start a little auxiliary league for everybody who's dropped out of the league for the 20th year, like the 20-year reunion?
Oh, you didn't know? I've been keeping that league, actually.
Oh, cool.
The feeder league, as I call them. All right, this is a hard one here for you, Alf. Most important position, not quarterback, in the league.
Linebacker.
Ooh.
I think it kicks up. If you play your defense right, linebackers can get you 20 points a week. If you don't play it right, linebackers can get you 10.
I hope people were paying attention last year because a couple times I did do a write-up where I pointed out how teams were scoring points. It's pretty amazing that there are many different ways to get points in the league
They
now.
absolutely are.
If you go back, if you went in a time machine and looked at 6 years ago, the league you had to have 2 good quarterbacks, wide receivers, and running backs, and that was pretty much you could set your watch to it. Last year, we had teams that scored more in defensive points that made the playoffs or almost made the playoffs. We had teams with 1 quarterback strategies, 2 quarterback strategies, 5 wide receivers, 2 tight ends. Well, I guess not 5 wide receivers, 4 wide receivers and a tight end, or 3 wide receivers and 2 tight ends. There were many ways to build your roster. I hope that continues here.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that this is set up to be one of the best years of Blood Bowl football. And the reason I believe that is because there just aren't easy games. There are teams, again, the Storm, Isaac's version, the Basilisks, they're young, they're still building. They're probably not games that you're looking at as hugely tough. You should probably be able to pencil in a win. But these are not guaranteed wins because they're going to play. They're going to play until it gets time to tank towards the end of the season, especially without a huge, Antonio Brown hitting the free agent pool as long as nobody leaves. So I think this will be a tough year to win free games. So I hope everybody enjoys it. I personally, and I'm not telling anybody what to do and what they can and can't do, I hope we don't see any tanking until we get to like week 10 or 11. That would be my dream. I hope that people do tank because I think it's a strategy that you should enjoy. But hopefully everybody's competitive to the point to where we get halfway through a season before we see, gotta tank.
Zeke better sign a contract.
I don't think tanking is something you enjoy, but it is something you can play at.
Well, I think if you're going to, I think tanking makes it, the league is at least interesting for you. I've played in other leagues, of course, they're not year to year or whatever. They don't keep the whole roster. But where by the time you're out, you just don't care.
Yeah,
at least with tanking, you care. You want to lose because you want a better draft pick next year. I just hope that people are competitive until a later point in the season where the tanking comes in those last few weeks of getting position rather than saying, week 3, well, that was it for me. So
I agree.
But I'm not going to call anybody out for doing it if that's the strategy you want to take. This is your team. You were invited into the league for a reason. So
and remember when you're tanking early, we've said it numerous times already during today. Picks 2 through 12 are not that much different.
yeah, no, they're certainly not.
You get a little advantage for the tanking, but in all reality, was it worth tanking a whole year so that you could get Harry instead of, or whatever, Josh Jacobs?
Montgomery instead of Jacobs?
Yeah.
When if KC would have tanked one less game and switched with 4,
Yeah.
he'd probably still got the same guy.
Yeah. So, and again, not saying it can't tank. Tanking's part of our strategy. It keeps people interested. Do what you want to do as long as you're having fun and you're not disrupting anybody else's fun in the league. But give it a try. Try playing until you know that you're not competitive.
Yeah.
Cheap Trick ruins my fun in the league every year.
Yeah.
Just saying.
But I do that before the league starts.
I hate that guy.
So anyways, we hope you all have enjoyed it. I know it's been a long video. I hope that you were doing something else while you were listening.
Yeah. Don't be touching yourself.
Yeah.
That's just gross.
That's inappropriate, people.
Stop.
Keith.
Stop.
Keith.
Stop.
In fairness, that's what Alf was doing while I was doing this stuff.
Everybody, hope you have a good season. Hope I'm raising a championship next year. Alf's head. And you all see. Go back and look at that previous second. I'm not joking about the hair loss. Y'all have a good season.